People are usually surprised to find out that my job is helping people have better virtual meetings, or at least part of my job. I have facilitated over 500 different interactive Zoom meetings, webinars, interactive keynotes, interactive being the key word there. And I love it. I exist on the planet to make connection and engagement easy, both online and off. And so the question for today is, what is it like to participate in a virtual meeting? I've spent total of several weeks in virtual meetings, and so I have a sense from my end. But the reason that I want to answer that question is it's a really important question in order to design really great virtual meetings. So first, I want to just bring you into the shoes of a couple people that I've seen in my virtual meetings, in my virtual workshops, sessions, etc. So one of the workshops I lead most often is called How to Make Virtual Engagement Easy. And I was leading a session once with a woman who shall remain nameless. And she's sitting there in her chair, and all of a sudden, you could see just a little person in the background. Her 8-year-old son is sneaking up right behind her, and he gets right behind her, so he's lined up so he can't even be seen, and he pops his arms out and starts going like this, while his mom was on this workshop that she had paid to be a part of, and it was this whole dynamic. So in some sense, right, what it's like to be in a virtual meeting is chaos, right? When you join virtual meetings, most of the time you're in your own home, and so you have the context. There's people screaming about spaghetti, there's FedEx people showing up while dogs are barking, there's all sorts of stuff going on, and so it can be chaotic. On the other hand, it can be really quiet. My brother-in-law, John, actually earlier before recording this, I went downstairs, and he was visiting for the weekend, and he's taking a couple online classes right now. And I went down, and I saw him on his computer, and he kind of gave this head nod like, I'm in class. And it was interesting because I sat and ate lunch while he was in class, and you know what it was like to be in that virtual meeting? Silent. It was totally quiet. And so that sparked for me a really interesting idea that I want to share with you. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 really common mindsets that people wind up in during virtual meetings. And by sharing these 3 mindsets, it's going to give you the power to create better virtual meetings, more engaging virtual meetings where people are actively participating in what's happening rather than passively hanging out in the background. And those mindsets are, right, 3 buckets. And these are not types of people. These are states of mind, not traits. States, not traits. So the first is critics. They're going to sound like traits, right? But we oscillate between these. So critics, really comfortable pointing out what's wrong in the world, totally uninterested in doing anything about it. So they might be people on your virtual meeting that are like this, or maybe you have their video off that are just like, this meeting should have been an email. I can't wait for this to be done. Why are we doing this? Critics. Up one bucket from that, you've got consumers. Consumers, I like to think of the analogy of kind of just passively scrolling through any given meeting or virtual gathering. Not sticking their head up, they're not actively detracting, but they're kind of just there, right? And then up one level from that and across a very important threshold, you enter the land of contributors. And this is where people are not victims to their own experience. They're not victims to the agenda that their boss has set out. They're contributors. They're here to actively add to and shape their world. Now, obviously, if you're leading a virtual meeting or you're in a virtual meeting, you want more contributors and less critics and consumers, right? The thing is, we cannot make anybody be anything. What we can do is design our meetings for contribution, not consumption. right? We can design our meetings so that people are invited to actively contribute, I would say every 7 minutes in a meaningful and purposeful way, right? So not getting people's contribution just because of like, hey, what do you think about this? But actually checking in with people and saying, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being this meeting's amazing, it's the best I've ever had in my life, to 0, why didn't we just send this out as an email? Where are you at? And that is contribution, right? That is lending people's voice. If you don't have video on, in the chat, being able to type in and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is this meeting working for you? And if people aren't a 10, you can then ask the question, what can we do to make this a 10 out of 10 for you? Because the point is for this to be engaging and meaningful for you in this moment. You know, I think that participating in a virtual meeting is kind of like watching a really crappy movie that was filmed on like the original iPhone, right? That's basically what a Zoom call is. It's this poorly orchestrated, it's not particularly interesting. There's not really often a lot of like good conflict or active engagement. There's no explosions going on, right? It's a pretty lousy movie that feels like it happens in slow motion, and it's really pixelated, and there is lag and that happens in virtual meetings. And so one of the things that I like to do to give people a better experience in virtual meetings is send them what to expect. Send them expectations before they actually arrive to the meeting. So I'll actually record a video using the tool Loom, LOOM.com. And I'll record a video just saying, hey everybody, super excited to spend some time with you. Here's the intention for our meeting. This is what it's gonna look like. If you have the bandwidth, everybody plan to have your video on because this is gonna be a session where we'll all be sharing perspectives. Get your keyboard ready, we're gonna be sharing in the chat, etc. And because we're doing all of that, time should fly really quickly. Right, sending a video out like that beforehand is really, really useful, especially if you're leading a webinar or some sort of facilitated workshop or training and people don't know what to expect, because virtual experiences there's a huge variety, right? So on one hand, you have the woman with her son doing this, and on the other hand, you have just the dead silent college class. It's totally designed for consumption rather than contribution, right? And so because you don't know what people are expecting, you've got to set expectations before they actually show up. Because it stinks to join a virtual meeting and then realize, oh, I didn't realize this was going to be video on. I just went on a 5-mile run, right? It stinks to have that surprise. And so don't let people be surprised about what sort of experience you're going to create. If you're looking for ways to make virtual meetings better, that's what I do. Created this connection toolkit, which you can get a free digital version of. We created it with the intention of amplifying connection, belonging, and trust. There's 100+ group exercises. It's good for groups of all sizes. There's stuff that's awesome for in-person, and that's stuff that's awesome for virtual. Obviously, the box costs money, but we created a free version for you to be able to ruthlessly steal and adapt our tools and make them your own. And so the question that I've been holding up is from a deck of We Connect cards that's intended to create conversations that matter. It's a really great way to start meetings with connection before content to spark that more interactive, engaged virtual context. I am Chad Littlefield. It was super lovely sharing some cyberspace with you, and I hope that you have an awesome day. Cheers. Go make virtual better. And if you're curious about knowing more, there's some videos lingering around here somewhere with more tips, tools, ideas to help make connection engagement easy, both online and off. Cheers.